This is a cool little first generation night vision monocular. If you've used the newer generation, like the 4th generation night vision goggles, then this is not that impressive, but for the price, I think it's pretty cool to have some sort of night vision capability. If you're familiar with the different generations, I'm not going to go through each of the different type of generations, but basically generation 1 needs a lot of cultural lighting in comparison to 4th generation. Like you can see from the box, it's a 4 times magnification by 50 millimeter objective lens. There's not much to this monocular, so I'll spend most of the video just talking about and showing you how it works. But just a quick overview of the layout. The size, it's roughly the size of like a normal set of binoculars, obviously just a single objective lens monocular. This is the IR, the infrared light for supplementary illumination. This is limited on range, so if you have absolutely no cultural lighting or ambient light in the scenario that you're trying to use it, then this can help, but it's just the amount of distance that the light will reach is all of the return that you'll get back into the objective lens. It's adjustable on both the ends of the monocular for the focus. It's got a 1/4 inch socket to if you wanted to mount it to like a tripod, similar to just what you would attach a nice pair of binoculars, spotting scope, or a video camera to. It's got 2 switches on the top. One is just the on button and the other is the IR on-off mode. You might be able to see from the video, turning on the IR, no, you can't tell. Oh, you can. So it's on and off. You can't see it with the naked eye, but the camera can pick up when the IR light is on. Your phone can do the same thing. You can see from the little light on here, when that turns green, the scope is on. Press it again, turns it off. It does not use very many batteries at all with just the on-off mode. If you're adding extra light via the infrared light, that burns through batteries a little quicker. It's 2 AAA batteries, so easy to find, not some weird off size that's hard to get a hold of. With that, I'll just show you how it works. It's obviously pretty dark back here. Only cultural lighting we're getting is from people's house lights. There's no moon, no stars. It's an overcast layer. So really the only light we're getting in the backyard is what's reflecting, all the cultural light reflecting off the clouds back down into the yard. So it's just to show you what it's like unaided to the naked eye back here. And then everything else, I'll show you how much easier it is to see through the infrared monocular. the infrared on, which is why you can see the infrared reflecting off of his eyes. Higher contrast stuff is easier to pick up, obviously, but motion shows up fairly well. A lot better than unaided. So this is what it looks like. I can kind of tell that he's back here unaided, but on the goggles it's very easy to tell. Without the infrared, everything's a little bit dimmer, a little bit more blurry. It's also not possible or not as easy for someone else to spot you with your infrared light on. If your infrared light's on, then you're going to stick out like a sore thumb to somebody else that has night vision goggles or a camera that can pick up the infrared spectrum. As whatever you're looking at moves further or gets closer, you're going to have to adjust the focus, which is what I've been kind of constantly doing as he's been moving around the backyard, trying to get it fine-tuned. But as you can see, it's fairly impressive for the price, especially when the 4th generation stuff is in like the $10,000 range. Infrared on, obviously you can tell from his reflecting eyes. Infrared off, unaided. Camera's trying to compensate for that cultural lighting, so that's about as much I can gain. Kind of show you what unaided would look like on the naked eye, and then back to the scope again. A little closer, so adjusting the focus. So with him sitting there, quick comparison of infrared light on, infrared light off. The camera adjusts, adjust the focus a little bit, and then unaided. Cannot see him. See all the cultural lighting. But can't see any detail back here anymore. And then back to the scope. Infrared off, infrared on. And he's getting closer, so having to adjust the focus more quickly than I can with just 2 hands, trying to hold my camera and move the scope around. This is slightly closer, which is why the resolution's a little bit better. It's maybe 10 feet away as opposed to 15, 20 feet like most of the rest of the video. Obviously infrared off and then infrared on. I don't know if he can see it. Kind of seems like he can. Not sure if dogs can see infrared. And the camera will be able to pick up the infrared light, so you can see infrared lights on. Turn the infrared light off. The house is maybe 100 yards away. It is really bright. You can see it pretty easily. Most with unaided with the naked eye, but it's because all of the cultural lighting and all the lights they have on their backyard. But it's like 100 yards away. The trees back there. It's gonna take me a second to figure out the focus. I'm gonna pick up some detail from those trees, and those are 200 yards or so from here. You can't, from this kind of range, tell that it's even on. I'm turning it on and off, but you can see from the fence that's way closer. You're like 10 feet away. The infrared lights reflecting off of that, but getting nowhere near. Way down there, 100 yards from that house, or let alone 200 to 300 yards away from those trees way back in the background. Another thing worth mentioning is the scope doesn't actually have to be on. It takes a second for the power that it's used to amplify this light source to actually stop. So the on-off switch, when you press the on-off switch, the status light will go out, and you're not using battery anymore, but you can still actually see through the scope. It takes a little while for this to completely die down, and eventually it starts to dwindle down, but you can see from, like I said, from the status light, it's on, infrared on. You can even see on the camera that with the infrared light, it makes it a little bit easier to see, even unaided. But in order to turn the infrared on, the light has to be actually on. You can't just skip the on mode and go straight to infrared. So status light, infrared, and then something worth mentioning. This peels off a tiny little hole there, and then on the warning it says do not open in daylight. It allows in brighter conditions like this for you to still use a scope. You can see there's still light coming through. You can see the table on the other side in the box that came in. If you were to use this in this much lighting, expect to damage, like permanently damage, the light intensifier. If you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments.